I think this is Dennis Way on 306 Alexander. Oh.
I just want to thank the city for everything you do for our community. And I think that we're spending way too much time being angry and discussing things that kind of are offensive. If we, and I voted for him, can support somebody running for president, then we need to show some respect for the people who run our city. The fact that we forget that our police officers are out there every day taking care of us and running our city, and the fact that you're afraid to call them because of a chief that you don't show any respect for, I just don't get that. We all fall short. We all have messed up. And I'm just really tired of us focusing on drama instead of focusing on things like flooding, Publix, where we have to go in and out of, and it's time to stop blaming Vicki Gaynor for everything that she is doing, because she's doing her job. Every job has a process when you hire or fire somebody. Whether or not you like it is not the problem. The fact that you are going to support somebody, and again, I'm telling you, this is nothing about race. I voted for him, but you're going to sit here and condemn a man and his family in no regard to this small city we live in. We have the best damn city in this area. We came back from Hurricane Michael with a vengeance. And I'm doing a job where I work to improve what we look like when we weren't doing our job. Now it's time to stop playing games and start supporting the city and working on things that actually count. And the fact that Chief Ramey messed up, yes, and I don't agree with it, and not every officer I encountered came out to give me what I needed, but you respect the position and not the person. So all I'm saying is stop all this hatred. I'm sick of it. And I came here specifically just to speak that you're going to sit here and blame Vicki Gaynor, and you're going to speak against this. I've lived here since 1999, raised both my sons here, and I'm tired of all of this anger. Focus on what we need to focus on and make this city beautiful. That's what I want. We have the best damn city in the country. That's how I feel. And I'm tired of all of this. Now, if you want to work on some stuff, work on that thing by Publix where people are going to have an accident, work on the flooding, but let's stop all this anger.
Thank you. Mitch Oakley.
Like a nerve, but it takes a lot of nerve to come follow that. My name is Mitch Oakley. I live on Massachusetts Avenue here in Lynn Haven. I want to speak a little more directly to the mechanical issues of the chief thing. Having been responsible for men who carry weapons and execute decisions, I believe the force here is going to pay a price for this convoluted process that we're having. I believe law is going to be harder to enforce. I believe it's going to be more contentious. I believe people are going to have a propensity to disregard the face of the law. And I know we can't fix it instantly, but I would urge you to put some urgency with this process. Right now, if I were commanding officer of this group, I don't know if I could send that chief back out into the citizenry with a badge and a gun, knowing what's waiting for him out there. I don't know if that would be a wise thing to do. But I want to let you know that it impacts the daily troops. Leadership's here, troops are down here, they're living it every day. I've not heard a single complaint, not seen anything substandard, but I guarantee you it's going to rear its ugly head just as soon as we try to put that gentleman back in place. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Ms. Michelle Bashir.
Thank you, Commissioners. After Hurricane Michael, After the financial crimes in Lynn Haven City Hall started being revealed, it became obvious to me that I needed to become involved and better informed to make good decisions about our local politicians. When the next election cycle rolled around in 2021, I made a point to speak to every candidate in person when they were all campaigning under their tents near the senior center before and during early voting. Yes, those tents, the same tents that the rhetoric being shared under them has been discussed again recently. And since this was the only interaction I had with the candidates, I walked away with the impression that Ms. Fields, Ms. Tender, Mr. Gray, and Mr. Warwick were working together to take back City Hall and to remove the police chief and the city manager from their positions. Again, that was in 2021. Furthermore, they had no other real goals or ideas to move Lynn Haven forward after their initial goals were achieved. Again, these were my personal observations, and who said what or who else was there, I can't say. So for 3 years now, this campaign has continued with removing the chief and the city manager from their position as the ultimate goal. Unfortunately, the mayor has now been added to this hit list as well. 3 years, 3 long years with the same agenda. Last year, there was another push to replace the mayor in the 3 open commission seats with a slate of candidates who were favorable to the agenda. Remove the mayor, remove the police chief, remove the city manager. It didn't work, commissioners. Commissioners, the people of Lynn Haven spoke at the polls, and still the opinion of the majority was not and is still not being respected. The attacks, the negativity, and the complaining have continued. So please just stop. We are all saints and sinners in our own ways and in our own minds. We all try to do what we think and discern as good. Some of us use a moral compass to guide us. Others, like myself, use the teachings of a Jewish rabbi who lived over 2,000 years ago in the Levant, whose message was simple: love God, love others. So if you are one trying to hold Lynn Haven hostage in the path with your hatred and anger, go home and let the rest of us live in peace. Amen.
Thank you. Mr. George Hines. Lois Miller.
Thank you, Mayor. Ms. Gaynor, commissioners. When my husband was living, people would call him and ask him who should they vote for, and he would tell them. They call me now, and I hope I haven't made a mistake. Each one of you were voted to be leaders of this city, not to go behind each other's back and have meetings about someone. You are not supposed to be having those meetings. And if you're having them, shame on you. Because when you have a meeting, every citizen should be invited. And one thing you need to know, only one person is perfect, and that's God. God is the only perfect being. All of us have something in our closets that we have to be ashamed of. So don't go out passing judgment. And I know this. I've been in this city a long time, and I've seen the growth. And I have seen what has happened since the hurricane. Miss Vicki Gaynor has done an excellent job. Some of you weren't even commissioners then. You were not. You were elected later. And if you want to be elected again, you better watch your back and not be trying to stab somebody in the back. That's not what you're here for. You're here to lead the city. Lead the city and not trying to do harm to anyone else. Thank you.
Thank you. Rita Miller.
Good evening. I too want to say that I'm sick and tired of the unnecessary hidden agendas, the unnecessary backstabbing, the unnecessary secret meetings, which I'm thinking, and correct me if I'm wrong, is a violation of the Sunshine Law. And I will tell each one of you, if I find out for certain that you have held a secret meeting, I will report you. It is time that we move forward. I know I said this once before, to focus on what needed to be done to continue to move this city forward. We are so much further in economic development and improving our city than our flagship city in the county. We should be continuing to surpass them instead of sitting here fighting on unnecessary agenda items. And it is over and over and over. It doesn't make any sense. Stop it. Stop the foolishness. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Patrice Henderson, Amherst. Patrice from Amherst Street. Okay. Judy Tender. Rich Walker.
Good evening. Rich Walker, 1106 McShinney Avenue. I'm going to change the venue because we were told that we're not allowed to speak on anything that's on the agenda. So most of these people here for agenda items, and they're already speaking about it. So I'm going to say a little thing here. Noticing that we have been changing a lot of codes, books, laws, ordinances, and everything connected with how we live in this city. Like that lady said, she's tired about something. I'm tired about the executive branch of this government telling me how to live. They're not elected, but they tell me I have to sometimes raise my hand to go to the bathroom. That's not right. We're changing ordinances and looking at everything we're doing. That's fine. A long time ago, I presented you this. This is a copy of the ordinances of the city of Lynn Haven. 1911, 1997. You're reviewing everything here. State codes, you're reviewing the charter, you're reviewing the building codes, you're reviewing the comprehensive plan, you're reviewing all the Lynn Haven ordinances, and the UDLC. how many other regulations you have, you don't know. But it's about time you learned a lesson. The city is growing too fast, too far. Your government is not growing with it. Your ordinance is not growing with it. Why don't, instead of you sitting here every once in a while and going over everything and not letting people discuss it with you, why don't you just put up a big sign that says what these people can do in Lynn Haven, not what they can't do? It's getting boring that we have to sit here and the comprehensive plan, 75 pages long. All your ordinances, you can't figure out how many pages you got here. You're not going to tell me that you're going through every one of these and getting rid of some of the ones that are in 1911. However, when you want to nail us to the wall, you go back and pull these off the old cement. About time, take a look at your government and tailor it to what we want now, what we want for the future in the year 2100. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'll be back when we get to number 12.
Bruce Traylor. Christy McElroy.
Christy McElroy, Port St. Joe, Florida. Been in the area since 1968. Went to school, graduated from Mosley High School. It isn't, none of this is about the color of your skin. It is about the content of your character. And that's why we keep speaking up. That's why we come to the defense of a commissioner that tried to do the right thing. It's not one transgression, it's a number of transgressions. If you would have read the letter that Commissioner Warwick put forth, it was thoughtful, it was well done. The last time I was here at this podium, I have always obeyed policies and procedures put out by the commissioners that are ordinances. Always, no matter what municipality I speak in, I respect the rule of law, and that's why I've been here and constantly shown up. I handed out materials at the last meeting, and the mayor told me I couldn't do it. Where in your policy and procedure is that? Where? Why did the city attorney not say, hey, Mayor, you need to step back? Now, what a lot of people couldn't see is that the mayor motioned for a very nice police officer who had a lot of respect to come up to the podium, but he was off camera. I reached out and touched him, and I told him I appreciate who you are. I come from a long line of teachers and people in law enforcement, including attorneys. We've been given lessons all our lives about law and order and been taught a lot of good things. And this town helped with my development since 1968. So that's what I'm going to say right now. But what the mayor did is he violated his own policy. And I can assure you, I don't believe that there were any secret meetings where the commissioners got together to speak about this subject. I think they met with individual citizens, American citizens. You cross over into Lynn Haven, you're still in the United States of America. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Corey Langford.
Good evening. I just want to say from the outset that I disagree with the way this whole thing has been handled. I have not been coming as often as I could. Work schedules changed a little bit, but promise I'll do a better job at that. But what I did want to come here to talk about tonight was not the reasons as to why I disagree or agree with the process, but more importantly, you know, I've always heard everyone talk about moving forward. It's been said tonight, it's been said by commissioners, it's been said by officials associated with the city. So here's what I would ask, especially the elected officials, is it doesn't have to be tonight. You don't have to address it during your report. But what I would like to see is each one of you come up with something, one thing that you feel like you made a great decision on, and that you would make that decision again, given now that you know everything that you know. And then two things that you wish you could have done differently, or that you feel like you should have done differently. Until we start looking at ourselves through an evaluative lens to figure out how we ourselves can improve, we're not going to move forward. I think everybody is tired of a lot of things. Just got my stormwater assessment bill in the mail, so hear me comment on that in the future. But regarding that, I would like to see us all come together and move forward. But before we can do that, we've all got to be honest with ourselves on how we can do a better job. And that's specifically for the elected officials. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Johnny Bashir. Gay Spates. Ryan Scray.
Good evening, Commission. Most of what I want to say, I'll wait for 12, but I do want to say I thank each of you for reaching out to me in response to my emails I sent about that topic, specifically Mayor Nelson exploring the alternative options that I presented, talking me through some of the nuances I wasn't aware of in regard to Florida statute. Taking advice from Mr. Langford, one thing I wish I did differently was I wish I reached out to Vicki earlier about the potential for demotion. Seems like maybe had I talked to her before that letter went out for disciplinary action, maybe there could have been a difference. So I just want to thank each of you for responding to me and engaging with me on that. Something concerning that come up tonight, though, is this talk about secret meetings. To my knowledge, none of y'all are having meetings with each other outside of this context. The pre-commission meeting, and also individually, each of you met before the bench trial with the city manager. I believe that is correct. If I'm wrong, city manager, please correct me. But I believe that is correct. I don't believe there's any of you five up here meeting with each other outside of Sunshine. And then the other things that I want to talk about is the police in our city. You know, they sign up for that career. A lot of them are doing a good job. And I have a lot of respect for them, ones I've interacted with in professional settings, informal settings. You know, I didn't really think about a lot of their perspective through this, but I would like to. So, you know, I've talked to some of them and gathered thoughts, and I appreciate the different perspectives, the ones that agreed with me, the ones that disagreed with me. I also want to thank the ones that have to go deal with Mowat Middle School traffic every morning, because that's part of my route of my morning routine, coming back from what I come back with. And the school district's decision to change when that gate opens has had ramifications far beyond what time our teachers in this community start interacting with their students. I mean, it's to the point where there was cars backed up on 390, and I was worried somebody was going to get plowed into because people speed down 390 terribly. I don't know what the city can do. I'm sure you guys have taken some actions already to deal with the district, but something's got to be done quick, because I am worried that kids are going to get run over. That's a huge thing for me, a big concern. And then other than that, I just want to say I appreciate the service each of you have put forth in doing this. And lastly, I do believe, and I hope this is true, Ms. Gaynor, I'll finish at number 12. Thank you.
Thank you. Vicky Williams.
Good evening, Vicki Williams, 306 Michigan. I chose to speak out tonight to state that I do not agree with Ms. Gaynor's letter, and I have a couple of reasons. He already has a letter in his file. Thank you. He's demonstrated numerous times his poor judgment. On duty or off duty, the chief's behavior reflects not only on the city, but on this commission. Ms. Gaynor, you have tolerated the chief's missteps and mistakes, and they continue to escalate. I do not hate Mr. Ramey. I do not want him to lose his job, but I don't like his behavior, which I'm sure you don't either, and you've had to deal with this over and over and over, and I'm sure you're not happy with that. At this point, I have no trust in him to run a fair and just police department for our city. Mayor Nelson, you stated on the news, we are being fair to Ricky Ramey. Has Ricky Ramey been fair to us? Is he running a fair and just department? And does he have the confidence of his men? That's what I'm really worried about. They can't say if they have confidence in him or not, because they want their jobs. But I really worry about that, because we have a good police department. I have lived here 6 years. I've retired here. I have called the police department 4 times. Every single time they have been there within minutes, even when it was a non-emergency. And I'm very proud of them. And I would like to see them to have the leader that they deserve. Thank you. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Ms. Jerry Parker.
Good evening, everyone. First, I want to thank everybody that came to the call of showing up tonight at the commission meeting to voice your opinion. It's very important. One thing I really want to address is I did a poll if Ricky Ramey should be fired or not on the Beacon of Bay County. Those results are 615 yes, 12 no. I think people have spoken. I know I have met with several of the commissioners individually, not together. So let's just clarify that. None of the commissioners were met together. I met with people individually. It wasn't secret. Anybody could have seen it. The one thing that I really want to point out is the WJHG interview that Vicki Gaynor gave. And in that, this is her quote, "Further lapses of judgment by Chief Ramey will not be tolerated. Going forward, any violation of city policy, any acceptable act, intentional or not, which demonstrates a lack of professional judgment or raises questions about his professionalism and ability to perform at the highest level of leadership will result in immediate termination." So let's go by those one by one. Violation of city policy, done. An unacceptable act, done. Intentional or not, done. Demonstrated lack of professional judgment, done. Raises questions about his professionalism, done. Ability to perform at the highest level of leadership, done. Every single one of these have been done. Yet, you want to say further lapses? How about let's go to previous lapses and address those? Those need to be addressed. And the fact that, Ms. Gaynor, you neutered this commission by coming forward and giving him a 25-day suspension sort of cut them off from being able to discuss this. Thank you.
Thank you. James Finch.
James Finch, 410 East 2nd Street. This coming June, I'll be in this city 75 years. My family's been here well over 100. I love the city. I've been very good to this city. The city's always been good to me until the last few years. In the last few years, with Chief Ramey, when I had a stroke a week before the hurricane, I was in a coma. And when all of it took place, I was in a coma. And you know who knew that? I knew a year later that Ricky Ramey got in the ambulance with me when they took me to the hospital and flighted me to Tallahassee. Ricky Ramey knew that. And they all got around here and they say, James was running the show, James was doing this. James didn't even know where he was for 30 days. I was in there. When I come back, it was months before I got around. Come April, I turned them in, all of them for stealing. I had the mayor go to the sheriff, and they was stealing on that concession stand right out there. $190,000 bill for that concession stand. I called out Vicki Gaynor. Vicki Gaynor snarled up at me, and it's been that way ever since. I bought the fireworks for 35 years. I bought Halloween candy for 30 years. I've done everything I can for this city. But I'm not giving a dime since Vicky's been here, and I won't. But he was in there. He knowed I was in a coma, but the FBI told Vicky to keep an eye on me. She gets Ricky. They keep an eye on me. The FBI goes to Judy Tender and says, keep an eye on James. What the hell do they want to keep an eye on me for? I'm the only one who went to trial twice, not guilty, not one time. The $790,000 I loaned the city was what they charged me for. That's what I was on trial for. And Vicki Gaynor was the benefit of it. It was on Colorado Avenue. Chris Forehand, her, Michael White got me to loan the city $790,000. Approved in the commission meeting by Vicki Gaynor's leadership. Approved. She got the money. She got the benefit. I was on trial, and nobody from the city went over and said, we asked James for the money. James loaned us the money. I've written y'all letters, and I've signed my name to it. I carry my own water. I'm not calling nobody out that I won't call them out to their face. And I'm saying this city has been fractured more since Vicky's been in this seat than ever before in the 75 years I know of. And they talking about going forward. You can bring the churches up here if you want to. They only come when Vicky calls them. And that's bullshit. We need to go forward. Thank you.
Ask that you refrain your applause, please. Do ask that we refrain our applause from comments. If not, we'll have to close out our public commentary. Thank you. David Cremati. Reese Russell.
Good evening, all of you. I'm walking a little slow tonight because I just had major surgery, but I wanted to let some of my friends and fellow citizens in Lynn Haven know how I feel. I have spoken before that I am afraid at times living now in my city. I've been in this city 19 years. I've been in Bay County, this time alone, for 25 years. I have lived here on and off since 1967. So I've kind of watched a lot of things change. What I wanted to speak about tonight, I did make the mention that I was only going to speak 5 sentences, but I changed my mind. And as a woman, I can do that. One of the things I got reminded of today was My parents taught me something a long time ago that I've tried to live by my entire life, and that is actions speak louder than words. And I'm both disappointed and dissatisfied by some of the actions that I have seen my city commission and the governing body handle certain situations. And I'm speaking about the decision about Chief Ramey. If actions really do speak louder than words, his actions have spoke volumes. And it's volumes I really didn't want to hear. I want to have faith in my chief of police. Like other people have said, when I've called the police, they've come, no matter what. They even helped me get into my car because I locked the stupid keys in them. I mean, they help the citizens in this town. And that's one of the things I loved about it. You can talk to your fellow police officers. But I wonder about the morale, as somebody else said, of the people under him. And the one thing that I will finish with is, I know everybody would like to see us move on. I've heard that. I would like to move on. But there is one thing I do know. Before we can move forward, we've got to have some closure on the past. And we've had a pretty rough past. And the citizens in this town need to be heard because these feelings run deep. And if you all don't hear us, then some of us will quit speaking, but maybe some of us will move. And that would be sad. I just would like you all to please understand what I'm trying to say.
Thank you. Arlene Harrison.
Arlene Harrison, 904 Michigan Avenue. I would like to say I've lived in and out of this town over many decades, and I've always been very proud of Lynn Haven. I've loved Lynn Haven, and I always felt very safe in Lynn Haven. I was very proud of our police department, and I still am. I think a lot of the people, any interaction I've ever had with the police department in any way, they've always been very respectful, very kind. And the men and women that work in the police department, I'm still very proud of them. And since the hurricane, they got out there and helped people, and they've always helped me and my mother every way they could. But I too I hope that their morale is good. I don't know if there's a high turnover. I don't know those kinds of things. But I just hope that the police department can lift their heads high with integrity, with continued integrity. Thank you.
Thank you. Brian Gray. Beth Arnold.
Beth Arnold, Vermont Avenue. About a year ago, I heard someone say that at a certain point in your life, you owe a civic tax back to your community. And that's when I started trying to get involved and come to the meetings and go to the commission meetups that you have that are very poorly attended. But I do want to say that I'm proud of Lynn Haven. We have beautiful parks. The park workers are there on weekends after the parade in Lynn Haven. They were sweeping the street up before I could even get in my car and drive away. We have hard workers in this city, and you as well. And I think it's unfortunate that you've been put in a position to spend as much time as you have on the event of our chief of police. I don't know if he's listening or if he cares to know, but I think a resignation would be a just thing for each of you because of the time you've had to put into this. But I do appreciate our city. I think we have a beautiful city, and it deserves to be treated with the respect that your employees and you all have put into it. You're not going to make everybody happy, and that's why you each have a vote to do what you need to do, and I appreciate what you do.
All right, thank you. So Bishop.
Bishop, Chairman of the Bay County Republican Party, I want to thank you guys all for your service. I don't come up here, and I try to avoid city meetings for the most part around the county, prefer to watch from at home. The last time I was here, I said the Ricky Ramey situation offered an opportunity for the city to grasp a silver lining, demonstrating that this body was capable of restoring public trust by holding him accountable. Fortunately, that trust has been misplaced. This is a missed opportunity for this city government. Ricky Ramey's motivations are very easy to understand. He fled the scene of a crime out of self-preservation. He refused to put documentation out of self-preservation. He sought to escape a good civilian trying to get that documentation out of a sense of self-preservation. These are very honest emotions. They are understandable emotions. We are all flawed. Yet these are exactly the sort of motivations that a police chief must submit to law and order and common good. And what he did is he broke his oath. He showed him unfit for this service, and having to defend him, having to allow him to continue to serve, is an obvious absurdity. And this is what creates this anger out here. I know that I understand the motivation of we want to move on. I heard this during the pre-commission meeting from many of you. You can't move on from this when you have an absurd situation. And what's made worse off is the rhetoric that we've gotten from the dais explaining the situation. We had the mayor during this first meeting talk about how they didn't want to fire Ricky Ramey because of constitutional grounds. Well, that was obviously absurd at the time. It became more clear during a pre-commission meeting that they were concerned that he would sue the city. Again, we have a police chief in office at the time out of fear of lawsuit to the city. That's not a good dynamic for a city. When I hear that, oh, we can't discipline Ricky Ramey because of how would we treat a child at school? I mean, this is a police chief. This is not a child. This is a breakdown of of how we make judgments for the city. Lena Haven deserves more than this. Nationwide, we've got a public crisis in faith in institutions. That crisis is largely driven by the viewpoint that people in power are not held by the same standards as citizens, and that we do not have the ability to hold them accountable. You guys have the ability to hold someone who has violated the trust accountable. And the inability to do that will continue to fester as an ulcer in this city. I hope you guys will reconsider your decisions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Jim Simmons. Jody Moore.
Jody Moore on Amherst Street in the Beacon of Bay County, Florida on Facebook. Just two comments. You know, people are talking about moving forward and they're tired of the turmoil in the city and so forth. Well, if Ramey had resigned or been fired back in February when this all came about, we wouldn't be going through this all right now. And also talking about forgiveness. Of course, you know, Jesus was the only perfect man in this world. But when you make mistakes, you are responsible for your actions, and there need to be repercussions for that. Of course, he can be forgiven. That's not in question. Ricky Ramey should be fired. He should have been fired a long time ago. I'm actually shocked he's even suffered any consequences at all, but it isn't enough. You on the commission, your job is to serve the citizens and protect their interests, not protect Ramey's job. And do you think you're doing that? I don't think so, and I'm not alone. The others can disagree. Furthermore, the punishment for Ramey was not handled appropriately. I realize Vicki Gaynor probably called everyone up there and told you what she planned to do, and I'm sure it was decided a long time ago. But the right thing to do would have been to wait on a hot-button topic issue like this to bring it before the entire commission at this meeting. The city manager serves at the pleasure of the commission and not the other way around. And she's forgotten that, and so have all of you. There is an item on the agenda to censure Gaynor. I suspect that won't go anywhere, which is typical of this commission, but Ms. Gaynor should be censured. In fact, I think she should be fired too. This whole situation with Ramey was handled poorly from start to finish, from the time this commission was not informed of the hit and run in December to his ineffective desk duty assignment to now. And I want to address something that was said in the pre-meeting, and Tho kind of touched on this. Ramey isn't a school student. I mean, I'm glad there's an acknowledgement, finally, of past bad behavior, because I think that occurred. But Ramey is a grown man who's the chief of police with a gun, who holds the power of life and liberty over people in Lynn Haven, both citizens and visitors to the city. He's not a 10-year-old who didn't do his homework. The city is being sued by James Finch and Margot Anderson. In Anderson's lawsuit, Vicki Gaynor and Ricky Ramey are both named. Did any of you watch the interview on August 12th? And you can answer when you give your reports, because I'd really like to know if any of you watched it. And moving on to something else, a little different. I would also like for the city manager to address when the old city hall will be open. I thought it was supposed to be a museum for the city. If it's open, I'm unaware. It would also be nice if after 6 years, the clock could be repaired. It used to, people who've lived here a while, they know, it used to play a carol on, and that would be nice to have back. And I'd also like to know when and where the next Citizen Finance Committee will meet, if the city manager will include that in her report, please.
Thank you. Catherine Hudson.
Excuse me. Good evening, members of the commission. My name is Catherine Hudson, and I've been a resident of Lynn Haven for 30 of my 36 years on Earth. I went out of state for college, but I loved Lynn Haven so much I came back to start a career and raise my family. Until now, I have remained silent and watching on the matter of Chief Ramey because I believe in the justice system. However, following his no contest plea and leaving the scene, his no contest plea to leaving the scene of an accident with damage, and city officials' decision to only suspend Chief Ramey after his plea, I feel compelled to come and speak out. A no contest plea allows a defendant to avoid admitting guilt while acknowledging that the prosecution has enough evidence to likely convict them. The court treats a no contest plea the same as a guilty plea, and the defendant is punished accordingly. As our police chief, Chief Ramey is expected to know and understand Florida laws and statutes. He should know that leaving the scene of an accident is a crime under Florida Statute 316.061. His actions not only violate this law, but also call into question his compliance with Florida Statute 943.13, which requires law enforcement officers to maintain good moral character. Moreover, the leaked text messages containing offensive language and further erode any trust we can place in his moral character. These texts reflect attitudes and behaviors that are not befitting of a leader, especially one tasked with enforcing the law and serving our community. Chief Ramey's recent conduct clearly demonstrates a lack of judgment and responsibility expected of someone in his position. And frankly, anyone ordered by a judge to complete a driver's safety course is unfit to be police chief. For these reasons, I urge the commission to reconsider Chief Ramey's position. Our community deserves a police chief who embodies the highest standards of legal and moral conduct, both on and off duty. Thank you.
Thank you. Michelle Carter.
Good evening. My name is Michelle Carter. I live at 3124 East Baldwin Road, Panama City, Florida, 32405. Well, I don't live in the city of Lynn Haven, but I don't think it should matter, because what happens in every municipality in Bay County affects everyone. I came here tonight because of Commissioner Warwick. I saw him on News Channel 7, and I 100% support him, and I believe that Chief Ramey needs to be removed as the police chief. I believe that Ms. Gaynor, as the city manager, you do have the power to remove him, and I think you should call his bluff. I don't think that he would sue the city. What I was hoping would happen after all of this had happened was that he would just be a big enough person, just say, you know, this was a bad screw up that I did. This was really bad this time. And so I wanted to see him make a public statement and just retire. And I want him to have his pension. He did an outstanding job after Hurricane Michael. And even though we don't get along very well, I did see him helping people after the storm. And, you know, he got a thing on the Weather Channel even, and he did an excellent job in that. But there's obviously some things in his personal life that are going on, and I believe it involves alcohol. And I know a little bit about domestic violence because I've been dealing with it myself. So I'm highly against alcohol, but I believe that the police department, they're the people that report to Chief Ramey every day. I think it's important for them to be involved in making the decision as to whether he should stay or not, because I've just been hearing, even through Facebook, and I think Facebook's pretty accurate. I've been hearing that a lot of people are going to leave if he doesn't either resign or if he's not fired. I think he's had too many chances. I think this last time it was so bad that he's costed the department the sense of honor and integrity that you are supposed to have as a police officer. And I just want to say that everyone tonight has spoken outstanding, and I did think that Mr. Bishop did outstanding. And I do respect you, Ms. Gaynor, and I think that you do an excellent job, Mayor. And before I close, I would like to just kind of talk about something different. I love the Lynn Haven Bayou Park and Preserve, and there's a board out there that needs to be
Thank you.
pushed back, fixed. Yes, I got a picture on my phone. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yes. If you could follow with the parks on that, yeah, you'll speak with him about it. Thank you. Mary Brown. E. McCollin. This is on College Boulevard. Okay. Oh, Elizabeth McLean. I'm sorry.
I'll make this brief, and then I'll be back. I sent an email to all of the elected officials today, and kind of waited till the last minute to do that. I apologize. I was debating whether I was going to or not, but I felt that you all sought out your positions. Nobody forced you here. You sought them out, you campaigned for them, and you were elected to these seats. You were not elected to these seats to lead. You were elected to these seats to represent. You were elected to represent your constituents. The mayor was elected to lead the commission, but also to represent the constituents. And I think sometimes when we have situations, that gets a little bit clouded. And I really hope that you can take a step back and go back and look at that. Because right now, the city of Lynn Haven, as you can tell from all sides, has a serious public trust issue. And it's a shame because Lynn Haven is a wonderful city. It's a wonderful place. It's really sad to see this happen. It's disappointing to see this happen. You all have the power to change that. You have the ability to change that by taking action. Inaction speaks just as loudly as the actions you take. Like I said, I really hope that you do something about that. Because the diversion from representing the constituents has directly led to a problem of public trust, in my opinion. This might sound harsh, but if you do not have the ability to do that, or you're not willing to do it, or you don't think you should have to do it, if you think this doesn't apply to you, my suggestion is that you should resign. That's all.
Thank you. Johnny Walker. Yes.
Okay, Johnny Walker, 1503 Dunnet Court. Good evening. And I concur with what most folks have said, that we're really kind of tired of all this. I raised 3 kids here, 3 boys. Lynn Haven is comfortable, came up real well. I watch what goes on in government from a distance. I like politics. It's like, oh, that's interesting. I wonder what's really going on there. And I think what we're missing, okay, I remember, where's the clock at? Right here. Okay, I remember when Obama was running for president. And there are a lot of people who were opposed to Obama running for president. Ooh. And I just said, a lot of white folks say, hey, I don't want to be my president. Or when he made president, when he was elected, there was still confusion about him being president. So there were some people who had legitimate political concerns, and I respect that. But there are also people who were outright racist, just because it is what it is. So it was a perfect storm, in that we could not determine who was who because they all were saying the same thing. I don't like Obama policy. Okay, so what policy about Obama that you don't like? They didn't have one. Oh, so it's not that you don't like Obama policies, you don't like Obama. So somebody said earlier, this is not about race. No, it's probably not about race. But I know for a fact that there's a lot of vindictiveness from years past that cancer is back. It was in remission for a while, and I mean, I got street cred. I'm gonna say this anyway, but I was proud to live in Lynn Haven. Like, oh, Lynn Haven's a nice city. I never say that because I got street cred. I'm hard like that. But Lynn Haven's a nice city. I enjoy living here, comfortable. I see the improvements. Could not happen without you guys' leadership across the board. Ricky Ramey, I like Ricky. Ricky, the way I see it, and I look at job performance, and you say he was off duty, he did, and we have to have respect, and I'm not going to call the police because I'm scared. That's a lie. If I kick your door in, the first thing you're going to do is call 911. So don't do that. So I look at that, and I see it for what it is. There's an opportunity to get a foothold and say, okay, fine, we're going to strike out all of them at one swipe. Ricky, Vicky, the mayor, we get them all. And that's what it is. So call it what it is. Because again, from the performance that I've seen in terms of what Ricky did, it trickles down to his troops, and y'all say, well, we worry about the morale of the people, or his troops or whatever. The kids are fine. They're gonna be fine. And one other thing, I have to say this because if I don't say it, folks would think I'm disingenuous. But when that Republican leader came up here and started enumerating those different things, I said, oh, that sounds familiar. And I'll leave it at that.
Let's refrain from the clapping, please. Let's refrain from the clapping. Hey, would you like to be removed? Thank you. Bernie Thompson.
Bernie Thompson, 8317 Front Beach Road. I'm going to keep this really quick because of all the good people sitting for so long. I just have 3 things. First of all, I've been so frustrated that nobody, I haven't seen, bring up the victim. And this is just drives me crazy. Has anybody reached out to John Shea Jones? John Shea Jones is the one who got hurt here, not physically, but his Mercury is tore up because your police chief crashed into it and took off. And if it wasn't for the good man in the Hemi who caught him, we never would have known this. And if I hadn't published it, you never would have known this. Number two, if you read the FHP report, and I know y'all have, Ricky Ramey, the chief of police, lied to the FHP officer. It's indicated in the report. The FHP report says that Mr. Ramey's description of what happened did not match the video. Now, if I did that or you did that, maybe not you because you have political privilege, but if most of us did that, we would be charged with interfering with an investigation. I had a judge call me and ask me why. He said, I don't know, ask FHP. These are serious things. These are not hate, but it's a real big deal. And he didn't even get charged for that. And then finally, the FBI reports, known as 302 forms, I know you all saw those too. That backpack. The backpack that the FBI, and I saw in testimony, I was there in the federal courtroom, I saw, Ms. Gaynor, I saw your testimony, I saw everybody's testimony. Ricky Ramey had a backpack that he got from Michael White with $30,000 in it after Michael White was arrested, and then finally, he was removed or he resigned. And a week after that, Ricky Ramey shows a backpack with 30 grand. Have you guys seen 30 grand? If you come across a backpack, I want you to know I lost one. If you'll put it in lost and found, don't open it. Just call me. Have you found the money, Mr. Mayor? Anybody? There's 30 grand somewhere. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tony Bostic.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Commissioners. Tony Boston, 159 North Callaway. Mr. Ward, 3 years ago, you sat on my sister-in-law's front porch when I lived in.
Mayor, he needs to address you. Okay, they've addressed Ms. Gaynor, but you didn't say anything about that.
Correct. But you sat on my sister-in-law's front porch and you told me about your concern for the city of Lynn Haven. That doesn't bear out what you're doing now. You started out in the tender camp. You guys fell out. Now you're back in the tender camp. That ain't gonna work out for you either. Ms. McElroy, you don't have to call anybody or send anybody an email reference to Tony Bostic. My number is 850-625-6126. Hit me up when you get a chance. Mr. Bishop, you talk about the Republican Party. The Republican Party supports the most morally reprehensible character in American history. No redeeming qualities as a Christian, let alone as a human being. But you get up here and you want to say you support what Mr. Warwick is doing. I find that kind of crazy. Go to more. You talked about what you published in the Beacon of Bay County, but what you failed to publish in the Beacon of Bay County that Vicki Gaynor has done more. There's only been one city manager in Bay County since Hurricane Michael that has pulled off what she's pulled off, and that's the city manager over in Callaway. You failed to mention in the Beacon of Bay County that she's been the lowest paid for the longest period of time in Bay County as a city manager. But you're worried about whether she donated to Joe Biden. I didn't see you put your donations to Donald Trump on there either, did I? Vicki Gaynor has quarterbacked the rebuilding of the city of Lynn Haven. And what's happened? Crickets. She's been the lowest paid city manager in Bay County for the longest period of time. What from the cheap seats? Crickets. I sent each of you commissioners an email today. I stand on that flat-footed, 10 toes down. Problem here is you have let this charade go on unassuaged for so long against the mayor and the city manager. I don't care what you say, how you feel. I'm gonna call it what it is. It's racism. Straight racism. Now, if you got a problem with what I say, as the old girl said on the video, catch me outside. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any additional public commentary? Thank you for your public commentary. Moving on to the mayor's report. This report, I'll try to address some of the things that were mentioned during public commentary. One, Mr. Walker mentioned about the ordinances. Of course, you do come to our pre-commission meetings and our commission meetings on a regular basis, so hopefully you've noticed that we are systematically working through our ordinances. So we started with Chapter 2. Now we're working through Chapter 10 on the animal ordinances. We've actually worked on the ordinances for public commentary in Chapter 2. So we are strategically working through those. Of course, we're also working on the comprehensive plan simultaneously. Looking forward to also moving on to the Unified Land Development Code after that as we continue to work through the ordinances. So there is a strategic plan to work through the ordinances as opposed to just highlighting or hodgepodging different ordinances, so we can strategically work through those. And hopefully within the next 2 to 3 years that we would have been able to touch on all the ordinances. And of course, citizens have the opportunity for input on those as well, because we can't change an ordinance without actually voting on it twice. So there are several opportunities that citizens have to give input, whether it's through email, phone call, text message, even discussion. There are some opportunities for that also. There was also mention of me stopping someone from doing handouts during another commission meeting. Actually, resolution 2024-04-428, which was voted on by the City Commission on April 23rd, 2024, under the Citizen Participation Procedures number 3, visual or election aids and handouts, actually makes reference to that. And it says that handouts the speaker wishes to share with the board must be provided in advance of the meeting or presented to the city staff at the meeting room before the speaker's allotted time for public comments. So that is basically saying that you cannot hand out handouts whenever you come up to the podium. That has to be done prior to. So that is something that I didn't change. The entire commission voted on that. I don't remember the vote for that, but that resolution was passed on April 23rd, 2024. There was made mention in regards to Moet traffic. I can tell you that I know Deputy Chief Infinger is working with school district and Bay County Sheriff's Office to help resolve that issue. I was privy to a meeting between him and the city manager a couple of days ago with that. So that is something that is on the forefront. It's at the top of the list of priorities for him to help try to resolve that as much as possible, and some of the other schools as well. So it wasn't just Moore that he was addressing, but some of the other school traffic issues as well. So that is something that is being looked into also. I know some have expressed concern regarding safety per se. Again, Lynn Haven is the top 10 safest city in the state of Florida, and for the size of our city, we're in the number 2 city in the state of Florida. If you don't know, there are 930 plus cities in the state of Florida. And so we're in the top 10. There is no other city in Bay County that's probably in the top 50 the last time I looked. And so we're in the top 10 in comparison to all 930, and we're in the top 2, or we're number 2 per capita, basically, cities that are our size. I also want to clarify that the city manager did not give an interview to WJHG. That was actually a statement that was made public. And so whatever quotes that were made on behalf of the city manager were actually taken from a statement and not giving in an interview. And in regards to Old City Hall, I don't have any specific date on that. That's something that city manager can address. Would like to say that it's not necessarily going to be a museum only. It's actually going to be an active building. So there's going to be offices in there for the mayor and the commissioners to come and meet with them. There will be some historic artifacts in the building, which will have this museum-like feel, but it will be it will be open on a day-to-day basis like our other facilities. And that is my report. Commissioner Peebles.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say that I got more emails the past few days than I have ever gotten. And so if I didn't respond to your email, I will. I just hadn't got a chance to respond to all of them yet, but I did read them all. So just wanted to throw that out there. I will be having a coffee meet this Saturday morning. I'll be honest, I haven't decided if I want to go with Sola or Wild Root yet, so just pay attention to my Facebook page. I'll let you know. Don't know which one will have their fall lineup of coffees first, so that's really what I'm going for. But anyways, I have been in contact with people that have golf carts. As we know, as some of us know, we have a very big golf cart community here. And one of the things that they brought to me was that we're somewhere around 200 plus citizens with golf carts now. And so they were wondering if there's anything that we can, and I'm really just saying this to, we can talk about it, is that they were wondering if there's anything we can do maybe as a city to get in contact with the county, see with the vast amount of golf cart users now, if we can get a few more crossing points across the city, because as we know, our city's kind of segregated by Highway 77 and 390, so it does make it difficult for some people to get across. And then there's been some issues with, one thing that comes with golf carts is that they're not registered like cars and all that. So if there are infractions, it's really hard to enforce them. So maybe that's something we can figure out, if that's something we want to do, if it's something that's not possible. I don't know. That's just something they brought to my attention. So I just wanted to bring that up so we can kind of have that on our minds. I want to thank everyone for being respectful with their 3 minutes. That really makes it easy for everybody to get up here and say what they had to say. And with that, for now, that's my report. Please continue to feel free to reach out to me. Thanks.
Of course, my vote is for Wild Root. Got my hot chocolate from Wild Root. So, also in regards to the golf carts, I do know that's something that we've been talking with Mr. Bobby Baker, our Chief Infrastructure Director, about. So that is something that's on his desk. So that is something that is being worked on, specifically knowing which roads to cross on. But it's not as simple as us just talking with the county. It's something that has to be done, I think, at a state level. But do know that it is something that's on his desk that we've been talking about. So he's just sort of been waiting on us to bring that back to him so that he can continue to work on that progress. Commissioner Perno?
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Corey, early on in my term as commissioner, I did have a motion to lower the speed limit on 14th Street so we could connect neighborhoods and get people from the North Shore area to come up to Wild Root and 9th Street and cross. And I think that's our goal probably, is to have connectivity with the golf carts through the whole city so we can traverse the city and get to our parks and whatnot. I know we just had Music by the Bay, and sometimes for certain people in the area that want to go in a golf cart, it's a little harder to get to Porter Park. So I just want to thank everybody for being here. I know we got the topics tonight that brought people out. I wish we'd see this most commission meetings, but we don't really have the regalia to do that sometimes. But I can't thank y'all enough for giving us your opinions. I've read every email that people had, and I've typed back sincerely. I didn't get too involved with my responses. Just thank you, read. Thank you, read. So just to let people know that I read their emails. And I'll yield the floor to everybody else, since we're going to have more people speaking. So I greatly appreciate it, though. I appreciate all our city employees, what you've all done. I appreciate the boys in blue back there. So thank you, and that's my report.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Ward.
Yes, I don't have a whole lot. Also, yes, I'd like to say thank you for everyone coming out. It's very much appreciated. Someone had talked about something about secret meetings. I'm not sure what secret meetings these are, but I know I brought this up before when we were accused of violating the Sunshine Law a couple times. The procedure for this is if you know about this, then you go to the enforcement agency, and the enforcement agency for us is the Lynn Haven Police Department. You provide a report, and then they forward that report up to the district state attorney, and then they investigate it. So I encourage you to do that if you have any information on that. And the last thing I have is I have my monthly time of the commissioner on 31 August, which is this Saturday at Slim Chickens at 11:30 for anyone who'd like to come out and discuss whatever they'd like to talk about. And that's pretty much all I have. Thank you.
Commissioner Vandegrift.
I've not participated in any secret meetings. I've met with individuals, but it's been in a public place or in an open situation. I did talk with Pat one time at Beef O'Brady's, but I was trying to get my granddaughter a job. So it wasn't.
Remember that.
No. I hate that this situation has been politicized. You know, Republicans versus Democrats, whites versus blacks. It's about judgment. You either agree with the judgment decision or you don't agree with the judgment decision. We did not have the opportunity to make that decision. Yes, things could have possibly have been handled differently, but we're not perfect. Long way from it. And I guess I'm going to stop right there. All right, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you. And I guess in regards to the judgment decision, because I did hear some things about that in regards to public commentary. I don't know if everyone was clear that in the beginning when all of this transpired, we were advised not so much to not terminate Chief Ramey because of a lawsuit, as much as it was stated he had a medical condition, and help me on this, City Attorney Amy, if I'm wrong. But in claiming that there was a medical condition, we were advised that to terminate someone due to an incident that was caused by a medical condition, whether we agree with that or not, whether we believe that or not, if that's that person's statement, to terminate someone based on a medical condition or an incident caused by a medical condition would violate the ADA, the American Disability Act, as I understand it.
I'm not completely familiar with the advice you were given, but that is a fair statement.
So that is the legal advice that we were given. Many of you may or may not know that, may not care if you know that, but that is why the commission initially went down the road that we went down, and our city manager went in the direction that she went down, was not to cover up anything, was not to protect anyone, wasn't necessarily even to avoid a lawsuit. I know that term came up later on, because if you do fire someone and they said it was a medical condition and you violate the ADA law that they're governed or are protected by, then that does put us in a position for a lawsuit. So it was not, as I understand it, looking back, that was the legal advice that we were given initially that caused us to take the actions that we took. And then at the same time, we said allow due process to work out at that same time. So just wanted to make mention of that, because I've heard this come up a few times during public commentary to, as they say, set the record straight. That was the advice that our city manager was given. That's also what was relayed to us as a commission initially. Some of us didn't agree with it and we pushed forward. However, that's the legal advice we were given, to terminate someone that stated they had a medical condition that caused the incident would put us in violation of the American with Disabilities Act. And so you'll be, violating that law. All right, city manager's report.
Yes, Director. Good evening. Questions about the warrant list? Thank you.
Mayor, I've had a lot of budget meetings this week with all of the commissioners. Have one tomorrow, Finance Review Committee is tomorrow at 8:30. Invite you all to come out. The clock that's over at the old City Hall will be here October. It was supposed to be here in August, but it was a delay, and so, but it still will be here. It will be much more, it'd be much better than we've had before. Can't wait to get it. You'll hear lots of tunes coming throughout the city of Lynn Haven for the new clock. The old City Hall, there is a punch list, and we do not want to sign off on a CO until they finish that punch list. That would be the wise thing to do. Thank you so many people for giving me your support, your emails, your calls. I appreciate it, and I appreciate the work that you see us do here at the City of Lynn Haven. Here we are a family, and we are doing a really great job of keeping this city in working order. I will tell you that I met with 2 auditors last week, and they came from different parts of Florida to do the audit for police department. Absolutely outstanding. This was a pre-audit for accreditation. They passed it with flying colors. They were so amazed with the work that the police department and the chief had been doing to get things in order. They were more amazed by this city. One of the auditors even said, "This is a place that I would love to live." And I just can't say enough about this city, this police department, the entire city staff, how they were so polite and run this city. So they were very happy to report that when we do our final accreditation in December, they felt like we would not have any problems. So I'm very, very happy to report that to everyone. And yes, Mayor, DC Deputy Chief is looking into the problem that's on 390 with parents dropping off their children at Mowat. And DC, if you want to come give an update on that, that'd be great.
So what we found were the school, the gates weren't being open as early and staying open as long, which was causing traffic to back up more than usual and spill out on the Highway 77 and 390. I did speak with some school officials. I haven't personally gone out there this week, but I've had some officers check on it. I believe that has improved. They've changed that timing. It's always going to be a mess. All these schools are. The problem was blocking these main thoroughfares, and at one point it got to where parents just kind of let their kids out on the road, and it became a danger. So I believe that has been alleviated as much as we can alleviate it for right now. And of course, we're constantly working on all the other school zones. I think the schools and neighborhoods just weren't built when they were built for this kind of traffic. And it's just the way things are today, and we do the best we can with it, but it's always going to be a problem.
Thank you, Deputy Chief. A couple of things. You've been asking me about art in the park. It's been really hot. So we're going to put that off until October, where it's a little bit cooler, and then we'll give you a lot of time to be able to participate in art in the park. Please sign up for paperless building. This will help our trees, that we don't have to kill so many trees. So that is a really, yeah, that's a service that we're now giving to you all. So I'm asking you, if you can, to sign up for that paperless building. We have a couple of projects, as you'll see one over at Sheffield Park that we started. That is an infrastructure project to put in the stormwater system. That stormwater system will not only help us now, but in the future, we will also be paving part of the senior center parking lot to help those seniors get into safely. But the pond will be expanded in Sheffield Park. That's going to take a few months. It probably will run into some of our spring concert series in the park, and we will try to make it as safe as possible. The first spring concert series begins September 20th, so we want to see you all there. We did have a really great meeting with the Department of Commerce today about the grant, the $4.3 million grant on Ohio Avenue in Florida. As you know, it's kind of a streetscape grant to really revitalize Florida Avenue. It has taken a very long time. We've been working on this grant probably since about 2020. It's just been a very long process, and not on our end, particularly because we're working with two agencies. One gave 75% reimbursement, the other gave 25% reimbursement. So we're having to work with two totally different agencies that work very differently. But now they have put some additional managers in place, grant managers in place, to help speed up that project. It is now really with the architects, and then after it comes out of architects, of course, we have to send it to both agencies that they would agree with it. And hopefully sometime we can start this construction. To be honest with you, I don't see that construction starting this year simply because the agencies are so very slow. But it will happen. It's a $4.3 million grant, and we have two other projects with both of those agencies as well. Just a couple other things too. Going forward, I would just like to say that something Mr. Finch said, and I wanted to clarify that, and really, it is just not the truth. I did not buy my property until 2019. In 2017, this commission passed to do the work on Colorado Avenue. You can't get something out of something you don't have. And so please be very clear. I have never taken a dime from this city, and I don't want a dime, only what you pay me, okay? And so just so you know, that whatever was said there didn't happen. Don't know why it was said that it did happen. I appreciate everyone coming out tonight. I know we have all a difference of opinion. That's fine. We live in America. But one thing that we don't have to be is mean to each other. We can be kind. We can agree to disagree. You may not like my decision, but still, we can agree to disagree and still live in the same country, the same city, worship together. Everybody is going to have a different opinion. No one is perfect, none of us. But I do know one thing. This city is very important to me and all the staff that work here in the city. We work tirelessly for this city. We do it, and we never complain. So I say to you, I thank you for your comments, whether they are true or not, but we will continue to work for this city, and we will continue to give you 200%. That's my report.
Thank you. City Attorney.
I don't have a report, but given the public comment, I would like to confirm my prior opinion to you that the decision to reprimand or discipline the chief of police was never the commission's to make. That authority is given in the charter only to your city manager.
One question I do have is in regards to the no contest plea. I know there was a lot of discussion around that with legal counsel to really determine, the definition of that and the application of that for this case. Because looking online, I looked online and even talked to some others about it. There are differences of opinion about it. So could you sort of interpret that for us, the no contest?
I don't practice criminal law, so I also had to phone a friend at the state attorney's office to understand it. The no contest plea is not an admission of guilt. That is the plaintiff's choice, or the defendant's choice to make. He can plead guilty or he can plead no contest. On the other hand, the prosecution can accept that plea and recommend adjudication be withheld, which is what happened here in this case, which the judge can also accept and bless, with the result that it does not create a criminal record for the defendant. That the judge can reject that to withhold adjudication and, in fact, to make a guilty finding, but that did not happen here. So I don't know if I've answered your question, but.
No, so pleading no contest is no admission to guilt, and then if the judge still gives adjudication, does that mean that the judge, although you pleaded no contest with adjudication, then the judge would basically be implying that you are guilty, but if he withholds adjudication, was implying that you're not guilty. I'm just making sure we understand the terms.
It's hard to know what it implies. I can
Okay.
tell you that the result is that there's not a criminal record for that violation for which he was prosecuted.
Okay. Agenda item number 12, discussion and possible approval to censor the city manager. Commissioner Ward.
Yes, so first, thank you for allowing me to have this agenda item. I want everyone to understand what it means to censor someone. I will tell you, at one time, I was going to have an agenda item added for a vote of no confidence until I fully understood what this was and what censoring meant. A vote of no confidence is when you disapprove of multiple actions or an individual's overall performance and is normally the first step or the step to terminate someone. My goal here is not to fire the city manager, which is why I chose to censor the city manager. A vote to censor is just merely a formal statement of disapproval of one's action and is not intended to contribute to the removal of the individual from the position. My decision is not based solely on the incident that happened at Newbies. I understand that people make bad decisions, and what I'm not trying to accomplish is making a one-mistake workforce in your terminated culture. Let me repeat that. I'm not trying to accomplish in making a one-mistake workforce in your terminated culture. I'm sure every one of us can tell you a story when we made bad decisions in our life. My decision is based on the Newbie incident and prior incidents where Ricky Ramey has shown unethical behavior and bad judgment, which has caused me to question his ability to effectively lead as a police chief. My goal was not to attack Ramey and his prior history. I appreciate his hard work and service to our city, such as what the city manager discussed earlier, the accreditation of the Lynn Haven Police Department, which I understand is no easy feat, and it's a big deal. I have no doubt that Ramey is knowledgeable at his job and knows how to perform it well. I wish that he had made the right decision to resign, or the city manager made the right decision to terminate him. However, since neither took place, I feel it has left me no choice but to do the right thing and push for his resignation. I understand the commission wanted to wait until the outcome of Ramey's criminal charge was determined. In my opinion, didn't need to wait based on what the HR attorney said during our workshop. However, they haven't been vocal about their own opinion on the situation. This is one reason why it's important to add an agenda item for a vote to censure the city manager. I want it on record how each commissioner voted. I also would like them to explain what makes Ramey the best person to fill the police chief position, why his past history doesn't dictate his resignation or termination, and what their expectations are of the police chief. Can you pull up my presentation, Harold? So I want to go through a few things. And the first 4 facts that I'm going to go over, I have sat down and discussed with the city manager. And she agrees in every one of these situations, Chief Ramey made a bad judgment call. The first one, obviously, we are all aware of the 3 civil citations that happened back on 30 December 2023. Can you play the YouTube video, please?
Can I pause for a moment? Commissioner
Sure.
Warwick, this is a motion to censure the city manager. Are you
Right.
building a case against Vicky or against the chief?
It's my disagreement with Vicky Gaynor's decision on her actions. I felt like the decision she made on this was not strong enough. And so I want people to understand why I don't think it was strong enough.
Up to y'all. This is his motion. I wanted to clarify, it does need to be about Vicky and not about Ricky.
Well, I mean, the only way to get there is for me to explain how I got to that conclusion. So that's why I decided to do that.
Thank you for clarifying.
So I guess her question is, are you explaining to us or are you explaining to the public?
Everybody.
It's the commission's action here to make if you're going
Right.
to censor or not, so you need to make your case to the commission.
Right, I am.
Okay.
I am. You play the video, please. Actually, I do have one more question. I know this one, the criminal one's still open, but then the civil citations, right? And as I think Commissioner Peebles had brought it up about, we're holding the police department heads to a higher standard, especially the police chief, since they're the enforcement of the law. And if someone got civil citations, but then not just the civil citations, but other reasons that might have brought negative publicity to the city, it could, gosh, I can't remember the question I had, but that could be a viable reason to terminate somebody.
It could be, yes.
Right.
That would be within the discretion of the city manager to make that determination.
So he does have civil citations that he has paid, and there have been prior actions to this that have bring negative light to the city, and us as the commission could take action on that.
That's a complicated analysis. First of all, yes, there have been prior citations. I have not personally verified that they've been paid. I've got no reason to dispute that. I just don't know that as a fact. When we're looking at off-duty conduct, and I think what you're alluding to is it's generally referred to as conduct unbecoming a government official.
Right.
Yes, that can be a bona fide avenue to take disciplinary action, but off-duty conduct has to be more scrutinized than on-duty conduct. But yes, it could theoretically be, and again, that would be within the management discretion of your city attorney.
Okay.
Or excuse me, your city manager.
Right. Thank you. Actually, I do have one more question. So when we, as I looked at these, the criminal one's still looked at our open, but then the civil Lynn Haven citations, right? handbook. And when you look at 101 Ethics Code, if you could bring that up, Harold. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'm going to read what I feel pertains to this situation. As integral members of the City of Lynn Haven's team, employees are expected to accept certain responsibilities, adhere to acceptable business principles and matter of personal conduct, and exhibit a high degree of personal integrity at all times. This not only involves sincere respect for the rights and feelings of others, it also demands that in both your business and personal life, you refrain from any behavior that might be harmful to you, your coworkers, or the City of Lynn Haven, or that might be viewed unfavorably by current or potential members or by the public at large. Whether you are on or off duty, your conduct reflects on the City of Lynn Haven. You are consequently encouraged to uphold the highest standards of professionalism at all times. The following are guidelines that may assist employees in determining appropriate behavior and conduct. How would the situation look for me in the city? All employees must conform to ethical and legal standards to abide by the law and to preserve the City of Lynn Haven's integrity and reputation. Failure to adhere to this policy may result in disciplinary action up to and including discharge from employment. The next thing I want to bring up is back on 15 April and 18 April 2018, Richard Ramey made vulgar text referencing past City Commissioner Judy Tinder or her significant other. This came out after the federal indictment evidentiary hearing on 12 December 2022. Richard Ramey received a reprimand by City Manager Vicki Gaynor on 21 December 2022. I know someone had brought this up before about how we're continually trying to take down the police chief or trying to fire him. I will tell you at this time, when we talked about this at the commission meeting, I did not push to have Ramey fired. I had a long conversation with the HR attorney, and I had good reasons that he should not have. And I believe that the city made the right decision in not fire him at this time and reprimanded him. One of the other things I'd like to add is we as a commission received some additional information on these texts. I don't know if he used a different medium to respond to Michael White, but when you read them, the thing that bugged me was you can tell that him and Michael White had an improper relationship. And I understand that a city manager and police chief or fire chief or the department heads, they typically have a pretty strong relationship since they work closely together. But there comes a certain point where you go over the line and you have an improper relationship, such as going over, having parties and things like that. Now, I put more of that responsibility on Michael White since that's his superior, but at that time, I feel Ricky Ramey should have known better. And if you keep going, there's his reprimand. And then the third thing I want to bring up was back on 10 May 2021, Richard Ramey made a Facebook post with Ellen Fields' police records from Spokane, Washington, while she was in a runoff race for mayor. He made the comment, "We have been through enough in Lynn Haven, and if this is what we have to hold in the future as a mayor, may we all come to our senses and realize we need to move forward, not backwards. Please make informed decisions as you vote." Again, when I talked to Ms. Gaynor about this, she said it was improper. I talked to, well, let me read the social media policy first. And I'm not going to read the whole thing, just going to read what pertains to this. It says, any such conduct that adversely affects or may be viewed as adversely affecting past or present City of Lynn Haven citizens, employees, management, or City Commission members will result in disciplinary action up to and including termination. Employees shall not participate in any social media or electronic communication media that could be perceived as critical of the City of Lynn Haven, its policies, management, and operations, past or present City Commission members, employees, or citizens. And if you notice in parentheses, it said shall be collectively referred to as City of Lynn Haven entities. So when you read this and they refer to City of Lynn Haven entities, they mean past or present City Commission members, employees, or citizens. Any use of social media that creates a negative perception of any City of Lynn Haven entity may be grounds for discipline up to and including termination. Employees must always be fair and courteous to each other and all City of Lynn Haven entities. The posting of complaints or criticism, statements, photographs, video or audio that could be reasonably viewed as malicious, obscene, threatening, or intimidating that disparage City of Lynn Haven entities will not be tolerated. Examples of such conduct might include offensive posts that may harm someone's reputation. And then, of course, you have the ethics codes that I believe falls in line with this. The fourth thing I want to bring up is two candidates who were running for office back in early 2021 were told they would need a peddler's permit to canvass neighborhoods, letting residents know they were running for office. Mark Anderson from Bay County Supervisor of Elections had to get involved, who had a discussion with city manager and Ricky Ramey about this. After involving the city attorney, it was determined that a peddler's permit was not required. I remember this very well because I'm one of the individuals that was involved in that. I remember when this first started, it was me and Brian Gray were running for office, and he was in the hammocks, and someone called the police on him. The police came out and told him that he could not go door to door and he had to leave. He called me, and when he called me, I told him that was wrong because I already researched all this as far as, I wanted to make sure I was doing the right thing. I was doing everything legal, the do's and don'ts, things like that. So at the very next commission meeting, me and Brian Gray went to the next commission meeting, and after the commission meeting was over, me and Brian Gray approached Chief Ramey and discussed it with him. And I told him the way I understood it when I looked at the Lynn Haven Municipal Code, if you're not selling a product or a service, you are not required to get a peddler's permit. And this was his answer. His answer was, but you're selling yourself. And I was like, well, actually, there's a Supreme Court case about this. And I tried to explain it to him, and as soon as I started to explain it to him, I could tell I hit a nerve, and he was pretty upset with me. And pretty much told me, I'm not going to stand here and argue with you about this. And I just kind of changed the conversation. I said, no, it's not like that. We just don't want to get in trouble. And so I thought about it, and I thought, because there was another police officer there when we were discussing that, and there was other people walking around. So I said, well, maybe because that environment, and both of us approached him, maybe that's why I got a little defensive. So I approached him and I said, you mind if we have a sit-down one-on-one? He said, yeah, no problem. So I had a sit-down one-on-one, discussed it with him, and still couldn't change his mind on that. He told me, I don't think you're going to have any problems. I said, I just don't want to get in trouble. He goes, no, I don't think you'll have any issues. Sure enough, that weekend, someone called the cops on me. Cops came out. Well, one came out first and then the second one a little bit later. And they were very professional with me, very nice, very courteous. And they asked me what I was doing. And I explained to them, I'm just going door to door, letting everyone know I'm running for election. And she goes, do you have a permit? And I kindly explained to her that I don't require a permit because I'm not selling anything. And she's like, yeah, you need a permit. I don't fault her for that because she was just doing what she was directed to do. And they were, like I said, they're both very courteous. We actually had a really good conversation, and that was pretty much it. And I went home, and I was a little distraught because I felt this was part of my bread and butter in getting elected into office. And so first thing Monday morning, I called Mark Anderson, and I explained to him what was going on. And he goes, the city doesn't want to do that, because if they do, it'll be all over the news, and they don't want that. And he kindly told me, you know what my responsibilities are? And he went down the line. And he goes, you know what my responsibility is not? My responsibility is not to get people to the polls. That's why you have to be able to go door to door. And if it wasn't for him, if it wasn't for him getting involved, I wouldn't have been able to go door to door. And so if you keep scrolling, Harold, there's the Supreme Court case. It's the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society in New York Incorporated versus Village of Stratton. This is the one I was trying to tell him about. And the facts of the case is the Village of Stratton promulgated an ordinance that prohibits canvassers from entering private residential property to promote any cause without first obtaining a permit from the mayor's office. The Watchtower Bible and Tract Society in New York Incorporated, a congregation of Jehovah's Witnesses that publish and distribute religious materials, brought in action for injunctive relief, alleging that the ordinance violates their First Amendment rights to the free exercise of religion, free speech, and freedom of the press. The district court upheld most provisions of the ordinance as valid, content-neutral regulations. The Court of Appeals affirmed, concluding that the village's interest in protecting its residents from fraud and its desire to prevent criminals from posing as canvassers in order to defraud its residents were sufficient basis on which to justify the regulation. The question, does a municipal ordinance that requires a permit prior to engaging in the door-to-door advocacy of a political cause and display upon demand of a political cause and to display upon demand the permit which contains one's name violate the First Amendment protection according to anonymous pamphleteering or discourse? And they came up with the conclusion in an 8-to-1 vote opinion delivered by Justice John Paul Stevens. The court held that the ordinance's provisions make it a misdemeanor to engage in door-to-door advocacy without first registering with the mayor and receiving a permit violates the First Amendment as applies to religious proselytizing, anonymous political speech, and the distribution of handbills. The court reasoned that the village's interest in preventing fraud could not support the ordinance's application to the religious organization, to political campaigns, or to enlisting support for unpopular causes. Dissenting Chief Justice William H. Rehnquist argued that the court decision deprived Stratton residents of the degree of accountability and safety that the permit requirement provides. And then the next thing, just the incident report showing when they were called out. I just felt like that was another bad decision by Chief Ramey, and if I really wanted to push the issue, I could have. But thankfully, Mark Anderson came to my rescue. And the last thing, and this one, Ms. Gaynor will probably disagree with me on, But a police officer who was fired by Panama City Police Department for accessing privileged information was hired with advice and consent from Richard Ramey. Approximately 2 to 3 days later, a district state attorney served this police officer with a Brady letter, and his employment with the Lynn Haven Police Department was terminated. And I had talked to Ms. Gaynor about that before I talked about the first 4. And what she explained to me was they had talked to the Panama City Police Chief. He had a lot of great things to say about the police officer, and that he didn't want to fire him, but felt like he had no choice but to fire him because of the situation that they were in. And she also said that they talked to Larry Bassford, the district state attorney, and they basically let her know that, or they implied that they weren't going to give a Brady letter. To me, whether he was going to get a Brady letter or not is irrelevant. He should have never been hired in the first place. And I think that's another indication of a bad judgment call. Next thing I want to talk about is employment at will. What is employment at will? All employees who do not have a separate individual written employment contract for a specific fixed term of employment are employed at the will of the City of Lynn Haven and may be terminated by the City of Lynn Haven at any time for any reason, with or without notice, except as prohibited by law. The only people that I know of that are employed by contract is the city attorney and the city manager. Employees who don't have separate individual written employment contracts signed by the mayor or city manager of the City of Lynn Haven are employed at the will of the City of Lynn Haven and are subject to termination at any time for any reason, with or without cause or notice, except as prohibited by law. I think any reasonable person can look at all these and question whether he should be in his position or not. Looking at all these issues, I don't understand how anyone can look at this and believe Ramey should not be terminated. I don't understand how one person has become so untouchable. It's bizarre to me. As a police chief, it comes with great authority and responsibilities. You cannot be outstanding in most areas. You must be outstanding in all facets of your job. Ricky Ramey knew this when he accepted the position, and his past history shows that he hasn't met the standards set by the city. Why is this important? To reassure the public that their city is in good hands and feel confident that they will be treated fairly during enforcement of the law. It can also affect the morale, discipline, and effectiveness of our police force. The police chief position is a unique key leadership position that not just anyone can fulfill. Because of these reasons, I believe he is not the best person to fulfill this position. The actions taken on Ramey don't match his infractions, and he should have been terminated. My opinion, if you vote no on this, you just prove my point that Ramey is in fact untouchable. Out of everything we have voted on in this commission, resolutions, ordinances, development orders, budgets, utility rates, and millage rates, I believe this will be the most memorable vote and the most talked about as our tenure as commission. Believe it or not, we are writing history of Lynn Haven by your action or lack of action on this matter. When I look back on this, I want to be able to look in the mirror and know that I did everything I could to represent the citizens of Lynn Haven and ensure the city took the appropriate actions. I ask you, what side of history do you want to be on? I personally want to be on the side of right. Thank you.
City manager, do you have any response to that?
Mayor, Chief is an employee just like the other 200 employees that we have. We have employees that we reprimand several times for different things. But what I do not do is go back 2 years and fire them for something that they did 2 years ago. That's something that I know that we have grace, and surely I'm going to show my employees grace. Chief has done a very good job, but Chief is not untouchable. It's the right thing to do. And no one can tell me different. that is the right thing to do. I serve a God who is able, and you can go talk to him. But I know what is the right thing to do. I am so sorry that Commissioner Ward does not see it my way. And that's all right. As again, I said, we live in America, and we can agree to disagree. But what we cannot do is when we disagree, is bully, retaliate, say things that we shouldn't say to each other. We accept our differences, we accept our opinions, and we move on. That's where I am. And so Chief Ramey has been given 25 days of suspension without pay. I think the commissioner said it on Friday. How many of us can live and lose $9,000 out of your paycheck in 1 month? This city will move on. Whether, Commissioner Ward, I love you, but whether you agree with me or not, I just ask that you move on from this and allow this city to move forward.
Thank you. Is there a motion for this?
Mayor, is it all right if we discuss this before the motion?
Okay.
All right. I just wanted to talk about it before we get like an official vote, because a yes and no does not give the whole story. So, first I want to say, Commissioner Work, I respect you. I respect everything that you brought. You, as always, you do your research and you bring your data. As you know, back to the labor attorney thing, this motion or potential motion coming forward is a censure of the city manager. And I was with you when we voted in the minority, when the commission voted 3-2 to push it forward with the recommendation from the attorney. And so Vicki Gaynor was directed to do something by the commission. And she followed what the attorneys that the city has hired to do said. So I agree that we should have been notified earlier, and I agree that things could have been done better. I do feel overall that she did what the majority of the commission told her to do. And even though I voted in the minority, we would be going against the whole purpose of voting if she did something different. But what I also wanted to say was I've gotten more emails and more social media interaction over the past 2 days than I've gotten my entire tenure. And I'll say on the social media side, we'll just call it how it is. You had the social media side very heavily favored Chief Ramey not being the chief, but on the email side, I got more emails in favor of not censuring the city manager. But what I've found is that as I talk to more and more people, that the true issue at hand is people don't want Chief Ramey, the people that want him gone, don't necessarily, like some of the citizens said tonight, they don't necessarily want him fired. They just don't want him in the role of police chief. And so I kind of wanted to give some examples. So let's use Commissioner Vandergrift, for example. If she was over a school and her assistant principal brought negative publicity to the school and did certain infractions, most likely, I would imagine, would be that individual would change roles. They would become a regular teacher again. They would not be fired, right? And then let's say Commissioner Perno at Beef O'Brady's, he has a store manager that has brought negative publicity to Beef O'Brady's. Probably would not fire that employee, probably would move them to a different role that better suits someone that's ready for that specific role. And then in the military, squadron commander. I've been in many squadrons where stuff like this has happened. They don't kick them out of the military, they remove their role as the squadron commander, allow them to keep their job, but they have taken away some of their responsibility. And what I'm trying to say is, I think what I've gathered is when the city manager brought the punishment to me at first, I'm going to be honest, I was on board. I thought, okay, man, yeah, he's already paid tons of lawyer fees. I know that lawyers are not cheap, especially not Waylon Graham. And then on top of that, 25 days suspension, that's a lot. That would devastate me and my family if I lost that much pay. Regardless of what my salary was, I budget month to month. So losing an entire month of salary, that's a lot of money. To me, that's not a slap on the wrist. Okay, but anyways, after that happened, I saw the feedback from everybody, and I hear you. And what's really come to my attention is of course, there's going to be some people that disagree with this and other people that will, and some people that are fully on one side or fully on the other. But I think the consensus truly is that, as some of the citizens said tonight, it's not that we want Ricky Ramey to lose his retirement and fire. Sure, it would have been nice if he would have put in his resignation, but they're saying, as a whole, we don't trust him as the role of the police chief. Not that we want him to be fired, lose all of his pension, 30 plus years, however long he's been in the service. So what I am asking is if you would consider modifying this to where, rather than a censorship of the city manager, who I believe, even though I was in the minority of the vote, did what she believed she was told to do, modify the motion to just give a recommendation to the city manager to change the police chief's role as the police chief and allow him to keep his job.
Is that the motion you want to make?
I'm asking Commissioner Warwick if he's willing to modify it because it's his item.
Oh, I mean, is that how you feel, I guess is what I want to ask. Do you feel that he should be put in a different position?
If it was me, I would do the suspension, and then I would have someone else have the leadership role, but I would allow him to keep his job.
Hold on a second. So even if we vote on that, we still don't make that decision.
Right.
Right. It's a recommendation.
Even if we make that recommendation, here's what's going to happen. We make that recommendation. She doesn't do it. The next meeting, y'all are going to be back trying to censor her again. So let's just deal with item number 12, which is the censoring of the city manager, because everyone has made their recommendations before. We're here because she has not followed a particular commissioner's recommendation or a couple of commissioners' recommendations. I don't know. As you mentioned, y'all were in the minority. So to modify this, to give her direction to demote Chief Ramey, and then as city attorney has told us, that's not in our purview to give her direction on how to handle an employee. So we can't even vote on that, or we shouldn't be even trying to vote on that, because that's not within the power of the commission.
Okay, so first of all, there's no y'all. Okay.
When I say y'all, you're the one making the recommendation.
Yeah, but that's what I said was.
So let's go back to number.
Just let me finish.
Let's go back to number 12, because there's no need to continue the discussion on demoting Chief Ramey, because that's not in our purview as a commission.
But that's not what I said. I said make the recommendation.
It's not even our purview to make the recommendation to do that.
Is that right?
Yes, it is.
Can I interrupt real quick? I just want to say one thing. I think I agree with you, because when we all have one-on-ones with Commissioner Gaynor or Ms. Gaynor, that was the time for us to express our feedback, give her feedback, and give our opinion of what should or should not happen.
Correct.
I think that's fair.
Right, but we represent the city, and the city saw what happened, and they had feedback to that.
City attorney.
It's no different than when we make a motion and then we have public commentary.
City attorney.
You can direct her to take an action, but it's null and void because it is outside of your authority. It's not binding on her.
So that's what I'm saying. We can direct her, but she still doesn't have to follow that direction per se, because that's dealing, because we've talked about that before. I mean, like, I think it was either with Dave Marcy, it was Commissioner Ward brought that up before. Can we direct her to do that? And then what happens if she doesn't do that? Yeah. So that's how we got to the censoring, because that's not in our purview to. And do you remember who you asked about that, Commissioner Ward? I don't remember which. What's that? Do you remember which attorney you asked that question about giving her direction on, I don't know if that was the labor attorney, if that was Amy or Kevin.
I believe it was Ms. Myers.
Okay.
Yeah, because, I didn't get much communication with the other one.
I think that was maybe a pre-commission meeting when
I
we
believe
discussed
so.
that. Okay.
Well, here's what I'll say. It sounds like to me, if I understand you correctly, Commissioner Peebles, if that's how you truly feel, then you don't agree with the decision that Ms. Gaynor said, that Ms. Gaynor has done.
It's not a simple yes or no, though. That's the point I'm trying to get at.
But I understand that, but our vote is going to be yes or no. That's what our vote is going to be. So is there a motion to censure City Manager Vicky Gaynor? Is there a motion for that?
I make a motion to censure City Manager.
Is there a second? Is there a second for this motion? Motion dies for lack of second.